What up, Schmoedown rockers? Talk about last night's Throwdown. For better and for worse. You've seen the thumbnail. It ain't a lie. And it bums me. To an extent. And that extent being Roxy basically, inadvertently, whether or not she watched both of them or not, was involved in one as a manager and the other, I'm not even sure if he saw it before, in a waiting room or something in the Streamlabs or something, but yeah, I could, now anyone who basically did have qualms with her, and it makes me mad now, because and gave us crap on calling this co-main event. I understand why, because of the fact that undercard technically was a main event at one point and needed to be more so for the higher fans, but us diehard fans got massively disappointed given there were more stakes in this as a number of contenders match, but it was also virtual. And I feel bad for my birthday buddy, because this match had to follow up the Houston live event match main event. Despite its controversies, by the way it ended, everything else that was going on in it had enough moments and certain aspects about it, being also one of the first big main events in the wrestling ring. It did not live up to it, man. It didn't. It makes me mad because she had gone off on Sin. I love Jericho how Jericho promoted him, not to mention the way that the main event match had played out itself, which it did feel like it managed to truly feel like a league match, and that real main event, because this is had to wind up being advertised in a co-main event because they realized, because some people were afraid that if they had given, because a co-main event that literally should have been advertised as what Roxy was saying, Bateman versus Ghai 2 being undercard, and this and that being the main event, because how it played out is exactly what it was. What that was. Which leaves me disappointed in it not living up to the co-main event as it should have been advertised, as Christian had to advertise it as. Understandably. And now knowing that match had been pre-taped before the Throwdown from last week, which did appear publicly hours before just legitimately hours before, having to air before Sen was released. So Sen Live came on this past Friday. So this was one hell of it was a good match. These were all good match. Don't get me wrong, guys. Don't get me wrong. But one time I'm going to finally say I've chosen a side, and it's Team Bateman. I don't like having to say it now. Part of me doesn't. I just wanted to say Team Action. And when that day comes when they're together again, I will still say that. But but if somebody asks Team Ghai or Team Trader, I will not say Team Trader. I will say Team Bateman. I will say also Team No Trader. I have to now. I have many reasons to now. Because, and it just makes the reason why I even became part of the Action Army feel flukish. Which was that Ghai versus Merle match. And it turned out from the way Merle wound up playing after that. Yeah, he did. He was able to recover. It's a shame it's a shame given and that's why and I now understand where Bateman's head was at. Given he literally just beat Ghai hours and knocked him out in a number of contenders match for a singles belt. Hours before losing to a team's number one contenders match, being KO'd. I could see how that would warp your psyche, because he went in confident, probably coming off of that. But he beat him before. So it just, I understand most people who did pick Bateman. I wasn't willing to count Ghai out. Maybe he can pull that thing again, but It seems after this, that's a fluke. And maybe most people, especially from what I've talked to in the generals chat, are saying what they were saying there. And I can't blame them. I can't blame them. Ghai versus... They made Ghai versus Merle, and then the only thing less flukish is how he is in teams, as a teams player. I don't think he won't bring it as in teams. If he can go off of but I'm not sure how that will work virtually, because clearly on his own virtually, and then he throws in, and I get the character work. That's not my problem. And I'm not gonna, here's how I'm gonna put it for the people in the Action Army. This is to the debonair, not to the dangler. Can we understand that now? Can you understand that? This is me talking about the player, not the man himself. So this is not toxic bullshit. But you're done, man. I mean, if you're going to be a manager next season, I'm not against that. I believe in that regard you might actually do it. I just wish you could have done something good for Sam, because I feel bad for him. He was hoping to redeem himself for the whole thing, and it just didn't play out more so because what's-his-face busy, but that didn't matter, I guess, either. You know, and then they had to still play it off and all this stuff, and we weren't really even given much of anything to go off of storyline-wise here, okay? Because it's more sports than that, and that's not what we needed in this match. I couldn't laugh. I couldn't laugh at his stuff because he wasn't bringing it in the gameplay. I feel like he did better in the first one, and it was just bad circumstances. But his character's work and everything else going on was still good enough that it made up for it. There was nothing of that nature here. We just may as well have literally given it to Bateman. And it bothers me. Yes, I'm pulling off a ham bone here with the hands here. Forgive me. But yes, it's bullshit. That this is how because and it makes Roxy look really good now, especially despite how this main event turned out. It bothers me, guys. And it bothers me to have to say this and make the Action Army, especially those involved in Call to Action, mad at me. Don't be. Don't be mad. Be upset with the debonair. The Schmoedown got to him. I think I don't even know if he did it on purpose. That's what baffles me. He's so in character that in his own head, in the process of it, that even answers he should know, that even Bateman had said, you should know this, during the match. I hope you're okay, dude. I hope whatever happens here, it's out of your head for when you need to be, and things by the time the Action Guys Sunday, if you're even around on then, happens, you know? Because apparently, you just please, okay? Just, if this is legit thing, then get some help, man. Just get some help. If not, or at least enough to get you out of what headspace you're clearly in, because it cost you and made Roxy look good for saying what she did on Sen. When she should have been. But I love that Jericho, when he promoted this thing, it is mental sport, and he did show that's what it was when he played in his match, and I loved it. That's the thing. The main events, one of the things were going for me last night. That's why I had to, at least with that, rewatch that one. I couldn't rewatch the debate. It was too. Even seeing that score, I agree with even Lando from last night's Gucci with Kaiser. And it also bummed me because this match wound up living up to certain expectations. And then in the chats, it gets undercut because rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. Wakanda forever. God. That's what sucks. It's like we can't even have something good without something bad in 2020, without something bad happening to just ruin it all. Even here, with the movie news of this, which shocked people just as much, I guess, as the whole Kobe Bryant issue, even though that, for me, I mean, it sucks, I'll admit, but it didn't bother me as much because I ain't as big an NBA fan nowadays. So compared to everyone else, of course, I'm in the Midwest and we don't really have an NBA team, so I have no reason to. That's what it really amounts to. So, and I'm sorry for the shakiness of this camera, but anyways, that's the thing about this. And I hope that, and his character work was fine. That's not my problem with it. It was just that his gameplay sucked. His gameplay sucked. The game has passed you by. And it sucks more because of the storyline and how he just chose to retire. I don't think he was expecting him to say that back then, and then them fixing and things looking up after his win, even though that was just a handing of a silver platter, and it led him to getting a chance to have a #1 contendership, and it was supposed to be against Mike, and that's what sucks with Mike's situation, because now it hurts him more in terms of singles, because it's now the one elusive belt he's never been able to get, just as much as it is now become elusive for Bateman and Riley for the teams. Being in two, because it's been elusive for their past teams, and now it's even more elusive here. It's... And COVID ruined a lot of things. It spoiled the Schmoedown, and that Who's the Boss finally getting their comeuppance in the belt, bringing their comeuppance in the belt, and now it's and Founding Fathers not getting to have what we could have had, a better potential actual grudge match that could have been an Iron Man, like I said with that one. So but with this match, it was fun, and then they had these the main event, the Jericho match. It was what I needed it to be. It didn't seem like it at first, but when I finally got to look back at round one, because I was having issues, I was trying to get on Brandon Buckingham's thing. You might see me a little bit on there, but it's not much of anything to talk about on my end. But still, just give him a like. I'm trying to call sign Buck, or call sign Cash, General Cash. Shout out to you, man. Thanks for having me on, despite my technical difficulties. So, shout out to you, man. But I had to watch it normally like with everybody else. So, and I couldn't really see what was going on my end. It was lag. Apparently within my room, or at least in the basement, or something like that. It lags. It doesn't get much. And then, anyways, point being, I was starting to, because just coming off of how disappointing the Ghai vs. Bateman 2 was, even as someone of the Action Army and a general too, even though I may not be for long, despite this, it wasn't a great way to have a send-off. Though I hope to talk to them later after this recording, and I just hope I'm not like shunned away from them because of this, you know? If so, then this sucks, man. As I'm not shitting on the Action Army, even though most of them are Team Ghai, but I have, like, now if there's ever a reason for me to just say I'm Team Bateman now, that it's this. Because I expected Ghai to play better. I don't know, but I never not expected him to be good in character work. But now after this, like, I understand if he doesn't want to even put him with Ethan at all after that gameplay. Like, why would he? At that point, it's like, fuck it, I'm bringing back Time Machine. I get that if he does that. I'm not even against him for it. And it's funnier that he said or dropped me. It was like, but anyways, I'm done. It's making me angry. It's not, like, I've said what I needed to say, and that just, Bateman, moral, hopefully, I'm actually wanting Bateman to beat him, just to prove my point here, with the Ghai thing. So at least he can say he beat Merle and he got a belt for it, even if he don't retain the belt, which he should, just to shove that in Roka's if he had to, or at least, at least outlaw Roka, not so much the Roka that was willing to help me during my tough time, because that Roka, appreciate you, my man. So, Now, back to that. It was fun. It was started off the first question, got the night, and then no perfect round once the second question happened and they missed. And then Jericho stumbled a little bit, and it wound up, but eventually he managed to near the final other questions, and it wound up being 7-4 in that match. And then this is when round 2 changes up everything, but it was also, strategically speaking, it hurt him a little bit, or kept him from making Smith look real good. But I'm glad but personally, for what the match we needed to get, I'm glad it happened the way that this did. Apparently, it was the whole opponent's choice thing. Or even though he spun disaster film away from disaster films, but it led him to opponent's choice. Smith should have went with his first gut and given him disaster films, but instead decided to just stick it to him and give him the Kevin Smith wheel, because he knew he could at least steal off of that. And that's what his strategy was. And I understood that, but it didn't matter because, of course, Smith, being that he played in his stuff, of course he would at least have retained some information so that he was going to work for him. And maybe it was also him getting most of these right, though he went to multiple choice once. But he stole when on the opponent's choice with Meg Ryan, and it was a big steal, giving him 2 points, putting him at 6, going into his spin. And he managed to at least up until one multiple choice, which wound up being the Die Hard thing, Bruce Willis situation, which, funnier with the 5-pointer, Bruce Willis was the answer of that one, and he didn't even get that one. Once again, Bruce Willis haunts him and keeps him from winning ultimately winning this match, since Jericho missed his 5-pointer. But there was just basically what had happened is he gets all his questions right at the very least, despite going to 1 point on that one, but regardless, which he could have been in the lead if he had won his 2-pointer, but he played it safe, and it led him to tying this match and getting us one heck of a match that is going to be in the conversation for Match of the Year, but will not, and be nominated, but not winning as the Match of the Year. Even though more likely it could, because of the pull of people that more than likely, if they wind up becoming patrons and getting into the Schmoedown, will probably only vote for this for their own personal reasons of getting into the Schmoedown, because of the names themselves, once again, instead of giving these other matches that are more worthy of it, like the first Bateman match, which I'm hoping the second one will live up to it despite the virtual, even though everyone else will bitch about that in the same way as what we get. And that's why I didn't understand why people were more in consideration with the Corruption versus Founding Fathers 4 being a Match of the Year, and more willing with that than Dan versus Moral 3. Irwin versus Moral 3, which baffles me, and I think and I call bullshit, and y'all are hypocrites for it. It should still be in the conversation, and it should be. And I understand those live, but I wasn't there. I don't have the right to say that. But with this, I could say that that match deserves it more than the Corruption versus Founding Fathers, even though that match was still good enough that it should deserve to be in the conversation as well. And this one does, and it goes to sudden, and they bounce off of each other, and everyone's having fun, and everyone's laughing, and the banter, and some of the things said. There's some things that might be. I'm glad for this, because now I have maybe a coworker might be hopefully watch at least that match and be happy with it, and be happy and interested in seeing the rest of what's played out here. I hope he does, and he can talk to me and be able to, but something tells me maybe that's not the case. But yeah, it was overall, what a match. Overall, and then it led to basically, I guess, 3 to 5 questions in sudden death, because they were both able to get their 3s, they missed their 2s, they missed their 5s, inevitably, of course, and then we got sudden death, and Kevin Smith managed to pull the win, but he was already touted to be the favorite anyway in this, because of him being the movie director and all this stuff. But Jericho proved, at least in this match wound up being exactly in his way, coming of a match we needed to have as a follow-up, coming off a follow-up of matches we've publicly been able to see. Following up in Roxy's, it's shame for Roxy, but she did well enough that it allowed him to help him strategically. He did what he needed to do, and was able to pull a great match with Smith and show that he does have it and he can hang, has potential to hang. And I think he wants to still stick with the Rock Stars, so I'm guessing maybe Jericho will wind up basically being hopefully his first pick. Or at least if someone else takes him, I'm sure Roxy will find a way to try to trade for him, more than likely, if need be, for trade him back to go to the Rock Stars. Who knows how that's going to play out? Maybe Smith will stay in the Quirky Mercs, or if you join Swag, that'd be funny too. Instead, hell, he could join the Usual Suspects and it could be even better. Hell, that would have been an interesting trade, but I don't think after this match he's going to want to trade for Ghai. But whatever. And it seems... And so far the Quirky Mercs are probably up there now. They're probably in the top 4, at the very least. Or if he's not already in the top 3 after this. I don't know where the standings are necessarily at this point for points after this, but... Yeah, Roxy needed it more anyway, and it's a shame. Once again, she just can't, despite results being how good they did play, but the end results just not leading to, it's not working for her. She's still losing right now, man. It's not that she isn't good at managing them and making them showcase themselves as good players. They just, in terms of just the luck of the wheel and everything, is just not going in your favor on these competitors and being able to get the job done. So, but overall, I loved these matches. This match specifically, this match proved to be a good, legitimate main event despite these being rookie players. And they had fun and they want to come back and play and be a part of this league, which is what we needed to see. It was everything Christian wanted, and that's what it delivered. And it was everything, and it wound up being, and this whole Throwdown wound up being everything that Roxy was saying, sadly, instead of what we were being advertised. Unfortunately, now looking back, most people will say that with this Throwdown, everyone will now be talking and saying that Ghai versus Bateman 2 will be an undercard instead of and that Jericho versus Smith was the real main event. And that's kind of what it was, and that's the part that bums me the most, other than having to hear the news through that on the Chadwick Boseman thing, which bums me even more. We're never going to probably get the Black Panther 2, which only makes it worse that we could have gotten an even better Rocky 2, a better Creed 2, given the circumstances, which sucks. So, and it's definitely going to show a shift between DC, given especially the DC fandom following week. It shows that now the tide's shifting in terms of filmography between DC and DCEU and what's going on with Marvel and MCU at this point. Unless Marvel at least can maintain, and MCU can at least maintain, and then just DC can build up, and it will make everything between those films now more interesting in terms of conversations between film buffs and comic book fans. But we'll see with that, how that plays out. It's... fucking 2020, I tell you. We can't even have something good like this match without something bad happening to just throw it off. But anyways, what did you guys, despite the depressing nature, Wakanda Forever, just... He'll probably be, or his family will probably be more mad than him at this point. At this point, he'll just be up there. Hopefully you're up there and you're laughing more than just nodding your head at us. But... what did you guys think of the Throwdowns? How disappointed were you? And sort of upset with what we got out of this sequel to Ghai vs. Action Civil War sequel singles match. But we're getting Ben vs. Morrill again, so that's fine, I guess. Hold on. Leave a comment below. Let me know. As always, keep it random, keep it real, keep it rocking. If you smell... What did you think about the Kevin Jericho match? Leave a comment, let me know that as well. If you smell what the movie trivia Schmoedown and Schmoedown rocks and Simon Entertainment, so on and so forth. Ooh yeah, dig it. Schmoedown is Jericho.